Hi, my name is Chuck Cooper with Monumental Sales, and I'm here to do a training video with you today on how to take a rubbing of an existing marker in the cemetery. The reason for doing this is oftentimes a family will request to have their marker made just like another family member's. So you come to the cemetery. We've chosen a companion flat marker today for this demonstration, and we'll just go through the steps on what is necessary to get this job done. First thing you'll want to do is have some materials with you. You'll need a brush for cleaning off debris from the marker. Some water and soap is oftentimes necessary in a rag. You'll also need some masking tape, some rubbing paper, and a tennis ball, and finally a camera. Now the first thing you'll want to do is to take the brush and sweep away any of the debris that might be on top of the marker, such as dirt, leaves, twigs, anything like that that would get in the way of doing this. Once you've got that done, this one looks pretty good, so we'll bypass the water and soap for this step, and we'll go right to the masking tape. Oftentimes in the cemetery you'll end up out there on a windy day and the rubbing paper will fly away on you unless you tape it down in this fashion. So you take the masking tape, short pieces, roll them into rings, and place them in each of the four corners. You want to make sure that you don't cover over any of the existing carving or lettering with this tape. And then you'll want to take your paper and place it from one end of the stone to the other. And it's important that you catch the edges of the stone. That gives us an exact dimension to go by, so that we make sure that we make the new marker the same size. Make sure everything is as flat as possible. Then you'll want to grab the tennis ball, or you can use any other soft, pliable material that will give you a good image on the rubbing paper. This is a waxed paper, and what we're going to do is rub this over the entire marker, and that draws out the image that is on the marker. So you want to start and get all the different elements that are on it. You want to make sure that you get the edge of the stone again so that we have the exact size of the marker. So as much of the border as you can around the edge. And as you're rubbing, make sure that all the letters are showing complete. We don't want to be guessing if we're duplicating a family's name. So if we have the correct spelling on the rubbing, we don't have anything else to worry about. I found sometimes that extra details that I didn't even notice when I first looked at the stone will become more evident as I rub on the rubbing paper. So you want to make sure you get the entire surface to make sure that you're not missing any of the details that are on the stone. I usually go once over the entire area again just to make sure I'm not missing any areas. And then the last step is to lift it up on one end and take a look at the stone and make sure that you've gotten everything that's on that stone. Because if you missed anything at this point, you could lay it down in the same position and continue to rub. So that is the steps we need for getting the rubbing done. We'll take that off. The best thing to do at this point then is to roll it up. And you always want to let the wind help you when you do that. If you're not able to roll it up and put it into a mailing tube, you can also fold the rubbing paper, but the best method is to roll it up again so that you're not getting any fold marks across the rubbing paper. Then you want to remove the tape, and then you want to take a digital photo or any kind of photo. Make sure that you get it from at least 2 different angles, because you want to make sure that the light does not interfere with any of the images, doesn't reflect off the polish, especially if it's a little darker and you need the flash. Then this way you'll have everything you need. So get it as full in the screen as you possibly can, so we get the best detail we can. Take the picture from one angle, then move to the other side and do the same thing. Make sure it's in focus, make sure it fills as much of the screen as possible, and take the picture again. And that will give us everything that we need in order to get this marker made in the proper fashion and get an exact copy out to your customer. Hi, my name is Chuck Cooper with Monumental Sales, and we're here to do a training video today on the proper technique of measuring a marker. It's always important to get the exact measurements of a marker so that when we put the order through in the shop, it's done according to your needs. In the industry, we always list dimensions by length, width, and height. And so we'll be taking that and explaining it as we go. But again, length is going to be from left to right, width is front to back, and height is from the bottom to the top of the marker. So the things you're going to need today will be a measuring tape, a pad of paper and something to write with, and a digital camera. First thing we want to do is we want to make a sketch, just a rough outline of what the marker is. Doesn't have to be to any exact size. So you just make the lines on your pad of paper, and if you like, you can put the family name in place just as a reference for yourself. And then you want to measure the 3 dimensions of the stone. So the first thing we'll do is take the length. You want to go from the edge of the face to the edge of the face, and this one measures 3 feet 6 inches or 42 inches. We work with either one of those types of measurements, so you can reference it either way, but make sure that you write that dimension down consistently. Then we go to the width, which in this case is front to back, and it's 1 foot 2 inches or 14 inches. You write that next. And then you want to measure on a flat marker both the front and the back to make sure that it's not actually a bevel marker, that it is indeed flat. In this cemetery, I happen to know that their requirements are for only 4-inch flat markers. So I'm not going to dig down right now, but you would need to do that extra step and then take and get a measurement in the front as well as a measurement in the back. And make sure you write that down so we have all 3 dimensions. And then the last thing you want to do is to grab your camera and take a picture of it, and we recommend doing at least 2 different angles for this. Oftentimes you've got reflection or shadow that will get in the way. And so you want to position yourself as close as you can while still keeping it in focus. Fill as much of the viewing screen as you can with your camera and take the picture from that angle, making sure it's in good clear focus. And then you'll want to move over to the other side. And again, fill as much of the viewing screen as possible. Make sure it's in focus and take the picture. That will give us all the information we need to make this marker correctly for you and make your family happy. Next, we're going to show you how to measure an upright monument. We've selected this one, and we're going to take dimensions of both the tablet as well as the base. And again, the things we need are a sketch pad, measuring tape, and a camera. So the first thing you want to do is get a sketch of the general shape of it. And then the next thing you're going to want to do is write the family name down as a reference. And then the next step is to go ahead with the measuring. Again, remember that it's important to keep the measuring consistent, always length, width, and height. And on this particular one, this looks like it's got tapered sides. So to get the length, we want to get the greatest length of the monument. So we'll measure at the bottom. And this one measures 3 foot 6 inches or 42 inches. And just to check, if you look up here, you'll see that it's actually 40.5 inches. So we don't want that dimension initially, we want the greatest dimension. So we have the length as being 4 foot 6 or 3 foot 6. The width is 8 inches. And the height, and again, we always want the greatest dimension, so you measure at the highest portion, not on the ends where it's lower. So this measures 2 feet and a half inch. The next step then is to measure the base. And again, we measure length. And you want to go from the polished surface, not the rock pitch or the rough edge. And this one is 4 foot 7 inches. The width, again measuring from polished edge to polished edge, is 1 foot 2.5 inches. And finally, the height. And that is 8 3/4 inches. At this point, we normally would have all the information we need, as long as you let us know it has a serpentine-shaped top. However, if you were duplicating, in other words, making another one just exactly like this, we would then need those added dimensions of the difference between the height at the top, center, and at the ends. So you would want to measure that, give us the difference of that dimension, as well as, remember, the sides are tapered, and so you would measure at the top also, so we'd know how much the sides actually pitch in. Then the last step is going to be to take pictures. And again, this will give us the full idea of what this needs to be. So you want to make sure that you get 2 different angles of this. Make sure that you fill the screen as much as possible while keeping the entire monument viewable. Take the picture that way, and then move to another angle and repeat the process, making sure you get a good, clear, in-focus picture. And that will give us the information we need to make an upright monument for you. The next type of marker we want to show you how to measure is a slant marker. And with slant markers, we need 2 additional dimensions besides the 3 that we normally would get. So again, you start out with your sketch pad and get the basic shape of the marker. And if you want, you can put the family name down again for a reference for yourself. And then we will begin measuring, and we'll take the standard length, width, and height first. And with slants, it's just a little bit different again. First thing for the length, and you want to get the face, and this one is just over 3 inches, or 3 feet by about a half an inch. So 36.5 inches. And then the width on a slant, you do not want to measure at the top, you want to measure at the joint or the bottom, which again is the widest dimension. You always want to go with your widest dimensions. When we measure the width on a slant, you want to measure at the bottom or the joint, and you measure from the back to the front, and that's 10 inches. And then finally for the height, you want to move around to the back side of the marker. And again, you always want to take the highest point of the marker. So in this case, it's at the center. And you measure from the bottom to the top, and we're just over 1 foot 4 inches. Then the other 2 dimensions that we need on a slant is what we call the upper nosing, right here, and the lower nosing, which is the rough or rustic area down at the bottom. You want to take it at, again, the highest point, which for the nosing is going to be the narrowest point, and you measure across the top, and this one is 2.5 inches. So you will write that down as 2.5 inches upper nosing, or you can abbreviate UN, and we'll know what that's about. Then for the lower nosing, you measure from the bottom up to the polished face, and this one is also 2.5 inches. And mark that down. Lower nosing, 2.5 inches, or you can abbreviate again LN, and we'll understand what that's all about. Then you want to finish up by taking a photograph. And again, you want to get 2. In this case of a slant, we typically want to take one of the front and one of the back. So you'll get the front, again, focus in as close as you can, filling the view screen. Make sure it's in focus and get the picture. And then walk around to the back side. And the reason we want the back is because oftentimes there's different types of finishes on a slant marker, so this gives us a better idea of what we're dealing with. So again, get it filled in the view screen, make sure it's in focus, and get the picture. And you're done. So you now have all the information that you're going to need to give us in order for us to make that marker just the way that you want it. The next marker we want to take a look at is called a bevel marker, and for this we need some extra dimensions as well. So to begin with, you want to take your pad, sketch it out roughly, write the family name on for your reference later, and then you want to begin with the basic dimensions, which again are the length, width, and height. For that, we'll take the length of the polished face. In this case, it is 2 foot 5 inches. And the width, again, is the polished face, and that is 1 foot 4.5. And then the height, to begin with, you want to take the back of the bevel. That will be the highest part. And again, you want to take from the bottom up to the top. And this one is 6 inches. So you'll record that as the initial height. But then you want to find out how much the bevel is cut down towards the front. So again, moving around to the front, you will take and measure the height, and this is 4 inches. So we will need to know that it's a 6-inch bevel and that in the front it's 4 inches. That way we'll know exactly how much of a cut to put on the face or the top. At that point you've got the dimensions you need. The only thing left is to get a photograph of it. And again, we want to get a couple photographs. So we'll want to zoom in and fill up your view screen. Make sure it's in focus. Take the picture. Then you'll want to move to a different angle and take it again, preferably off to one side. And again, take the photograph, filling the camera viewer, making sure it's in focus, and taking your picture. With these items, we'll have all the information we need to manufacture a bevel marker for you.